Hello everyone, this is Stephanie. Welcome to another video. So today we're going to work on the Aurora bracelet. And this bracelet, if it looks familiar, is sort of an offshoot of the Juliet necklace. So I've used some of the same size stones and the connection here. So if you've made this, then this will be easy for you to make. And if you haven't made this, I'll link it down below. It's like really one of my favorite pieces that we made last year. All right, so here let's take a look at the bracelet. So up a little bit. This is what it looks like. So pretty. I just love these opal stones. These are so gorgeous, and we'll talk a little bit about these stones when we get to the materials list. So here's your bracelet. It's all crystal all the way around, and I really love it. I think it's so pretty simple, but like I think really makes a statement. All right, so I'm going to clear this off, get a materials list going, and we'll get started on this bracelet. So as usual, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's so helpful for my channel. I would appreciate that, and share my video if you like. All right, so I'll clear this off, and we'll get started. Okay, let's get a materials list going. So I'm going to take a couple of minutes on materials today because of, the Swarovski thing. I want to show you other things that I've used and talk a little bit. So it's not going to be super long, but if you want to just go ahead, just, pass this clip. So anyway, you'll need a 13 by 18 millimeter oval fancy stone. I'm using the Potomac Crystals oval fancy stones here. They're opal color, and I absolutely love these. I think they're gorgeous. They're like, in some places, I don't even know if you can see it, they have like little striations in them or just little imperfections that make it look like a real stone. I mean, when I wear this, people ask me, like, what is the name of that stone? That's gorgeous. They think it's a gemstone. So, like, really gorgeous. Love that. And here's the opal, white opal. Again, slight variations in the stone, just to me make it look like a really, and especially in the opal color, or the opal type really makes it look like a real stone. So, that's sort of something that I really love about them. You can use a regular crystal fancy stone. Here's a Swarovski here, just to show you the difference between the opal. This is the Swarovski alabaster, and this is the opal. I just love it. I think it's so pretty, but they're all beautiful. Use whatever you like. So you need 2 colors of Delicas, and I'm using this white opal color. And then I'm actually using it in the bracelet. I used a Toho Aiko, which is a anti-copper lined Aiko. However, I just found, and it's probably new to you, not new to you, but it's always new to me, certain things. It's a Delica, a fancy lined Delica, and it's very much like this Aiko bead. It's lined inside, and there's a fancy lined champagne, which I think would just be perfect. I haven't ordered them yet. I'm going to order them. So fancy lined champagne, I'll put it in the description box below the video. I think would look gorgeous with this. So if you can't get the Aiko, or you just want 2 Delicas, you can do that. And I'm using two colors of 15-0s. One is the champagne color, the Duracoat champagne, and the other one is light metallic bronze. And the reason I do that is because I just think it gives, you don't see it right away, but from a distance you get a little pop of like depth in it. It's almost like shadowing a painting when you're painting. So here I have the bronze around the edge, and then the gold one, the champagne gold one, is sort of in the middle, and it just gives it a pop. And this one is a little even more subtle, but it's there, and you just notice it from a distance rather than blatant different color. Then some 11-0 seed beads. I'm using some 3 millimeter pearls, and I'll have I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to order pearls from different websites, Swarovski, alternative to Swarovski, being that they're, leaving us eventually. So I want to see what other pearls look like, because I haven't used much other than the Swarovski pearls, so that would be fun, but I have to order them and check them out and stuff. All right, so I have a 2-strand box clasp. I love this clasp from Fire Mountain Gems, or Etsy has them as well. Size 10 beading needle, size 12 beading needle, just have it handy. Stop bead, I'm using 8-pound Fireline black satin. I love this black satin, it's my favorite thread. Don't forget the Ringberries Matte, 10% off, Bronzepony 10 code. I'll put a link to the No More Oops bead tray in the description box below the video, so really don't forget down there. Everything I've used in this project will be listed down there. So, and sizes, colors, amounts, you name it, places to purchase, everything. So don't forget to click the down arrow, the show more, you know the drill. All right, so I'm going to clear this off and we'll get started. Okay, let's get started. So thread your needle with about 3 feet of thread, put on a stop bead, and leave about a 14 to 16 inch tail. We're going to use that tail. So I've picked up and dropped down to my stop bead 40 of my white opal Delicas. I'm going to sew those into a circle by sewing up. Just going to sew up the first bead past the stop bead. Now I have a circle. Now I'm just going to do your standard sort of peyote bezel. So I'll pull a little bit. So I'm picking up a Delica. Exiting here, I'm going to skip the next Delica and sew through the following one. Give it a little pull, and it pops that bead up on the previous bead. Pick up a Delica, exiting here, skip the next one, sew through the following one. So I'm going to do this all the way around. Picking up a Delica, exiting this Delica, skip the next one, sew through the following one. Make sure it sits on that previous bead, like that. Okay, so you're just going to do this all the way down, all the way around to the end, and then meet me back here and we'll step up together. Okay, coming down to the end, so I'm going to step up now. So here I'm picking up a Delica. I'm exiting this Delica right here. I'm going to skip this one. I'm going to sew through the next one and the one on the diagonal. Needle in, just like that. Here we go. This is what we have. Now I'm going to go to my next color, Delica. So I'm using this, what was it, copper lined crystal. I'm just going to sew through every sticking out Delica, picking up a bead, sewing through the next sticking out Delica. One up through the next sticking out Delica. You got it. Do that all the way around and then meet me at the end and we'll step up. Okay, coming down to the end, we're going to step up. So I'm pulling in a little bit, just inward a little bit. I'm not, pulling it so hard that it's going to make everything buckle. I'm just letting it curve sort of naturally. I'll be helping it a little bit with my thumb. So exiting here, picking up my gold Delica, going to go through this one. So the next sticking out Delica, and then the gold one on the diagonal. That's the very first one we put on. And at this point, you can give it a little pull, and this is what we're looking like. All right, so now we're going to go to our 15-0s. I like to hold it on my finger at this point. So I'm going to pick up my 15-0, and this is the just here the two different shades, colors right here. So here this is the gold one, champagne one, and this is the bronze. The bronze I'm going to use at the end. So I'm going to be using my champagne color 15-0, and I'm just going to sew through every sticking out Delica. So that's the gold Delica I'm going through right here. I'm just going to do this all the way around, and then I'll meet you at the end, and we'll step up together. So you can pull these inward a little bit. All right, see you at the end. Okay, coming down to the end, so I'm picking up my last 15-0 of this round. I'm going to sew through the Delica and the 15-0 on the diagonal. It's going to place my last bead on of this round. Then we're going to do another round with that same champagne bead. So 15-0 through every sticking out 15-0. Just like that. All right, so go all the way around and then meet me at the end and we'll continue. Okay, we're back. So I'm about to step up. So I'm putting on my last 15-0 of this round. I'm going to sew through the 15-0, the next 15-0. Get my needle in there. So that's the one that was sticking up, and the one on the diagonal. There we go. It steps me up to put more beads on. Okay, but for right now, I'm going to leave this thread, back off a teeny bit. I'm going to leave this thread, and I'm going to go to the back of my bezel. So just leave that. If you can leave the needle on, leave that too, because we'll get back to it. So here is my, I've taken my stop bead off, threaded a needle, and I'm exiting one of these, the white Delicas. I just want to get to the outside edge here. So all I'm going to do is sew on the diagonal through this Delica right there. Now I'm set up to put some more beads on. All right, so at this point, I'm going to put the stone in. So I'm going to put the stone in face down because the front of my bezel is this side, like that, and this is the back. So it's not going to stay, of course, but it's, you know, it's fine. Perfect. And then I'm just going to start putting on 15-0, so a 15-0 between each sticking out Delica. Just a note, when you're doing like several of these bezels in one bracelet, always make your sequence the same each time. So I did, you know, I did all my Delicas and then 2 rounds of 15-0s before I went on the back and started adding the 15-0s. So that way, you know, your stone will always look centered on the front side if you're, you know, if you do your bezel the same way each time. All right. So I'm just going to continue to put a 15-0 in between each sticking out Delica, and keep your tension good. At this point, you're pulling inward a bit, like that. You're not pulling, you know, don't pull outward, pull inward. You want everything to curve inside. And I'm just using the champagne beads here. Like that. All right, so do that all the way around, and then I think at this point you can step up, because we've already done that, and do one more round. So you're doing 2 rounds of the 15-0s on the back. All right, so get that done, and I'll meet you back here. Okay, coming down to the end, and I have a couple of beads to put on. So here I'm going, whoops. There we go, so I'm going to sew through the next sticking out 15-0, picking up another 15-0. I'm just going to sew through the next sticking out 15-0 and the one on the diagonal. Just like that. And now I'm done with this side, but you want to hold this thread. So, you know, we're using both threads in this design, so we'll get back to that one again. All right, so now we are back to the front. So we want to put this little sort of pointy design on, sort of scalloped edge, let's say. All right, so I'm going to use the darker 15-0s now. That's just going to, like, gives it a little bit of shadow or depth. So I'm going to pick up a 15-0 and sew through the next sticking out 15-0. So I've got one 15-0 on now. Let me pull in a little bit tighter. Now I'm just going to move my needle and thread. So I'm exiting here. I'm just going to move it through these 2 beads right here. So this one, and you can do these just one at a time if you like, and then this one. Then I'm going to pick up another one of my bronze beads and sew through the next sticking out 15-0. That's going to make my scallop. I'll do that again. Exiting here, I'm going to sew through this one, and then this one, and then I'm going to put a 15-0, so the bronze 15-0 through the next sticking out 15-0. Just get it in there. There we go. See, we're starting at those little points. Sew through just your needle and thread through that 15-0, and then the one up here on the diagonal. Pick up another 15-0, my other color. Sew through the next sticking out 15-0, like that. And that's how we're going to do the scallop all the way around. So just do that all the way around. Meet me at the end, and we'll continue. Okay, we're back, so let's just get our last bead on. So here I want to put a bead right here, so I'm just putting my 15-0 on like that. And then I don't need to add any more beads after this, so I'm just going to sew through this one. So that's where I would normally sew through that little bead right there. But I'm not going to keep going around. I'm just going to go sew through this Delica and this Delica, you know, just sewing a little bit on the diagonal right here. So through this one, and we're going to still hold on to these threads because we're going to use them. All right, so there we go. So we've kind of put that in place right now, and that's just perfect. So this is what it looks like. So here, that's going to be going on our bracelet eventually. All right, so just get to that point and then come on back and we'll continue. Okay, we're back. So I'm still leaving my tail thread on, and I'm not, usually I would lock my beads into place, but I don't want to do that yet, and I'll show you why in a minute. So I'm exiting one of these Delicas. This is the front of my bezel. And I'm just going to sew through this center Delica right here. So I was exiting this one. I just went on the diagonal through this one, and then I'm going to add my stitch in the ditch. So I'm going to pick up an 11/0 seed bead, and I'm exiting this Delica right here. I'm just going to hop over to the next one and put that little 11/0 seed bead in between these two Delicas here. So pull. There we go. Do it again. 11/0. Exiting here. I'm going to sew through the next Delica in line. And giving it a pull to lock it into place. Here. Exiting here. Delica. 11/0 through the next one. See how that looks? Isn't that pretty? I love stitch in the ditch. So I'm just going to do that all the way around. Just picking them up, sewing through the next Delica in line, 11/0 through the next Delica in line, until I've done that all the way around. And like I said, I'm giving it a little pull to tighten it in, just like that. All right, so get that done and meet me at the end and we'll continue. Okay, we're back and I'm going to put the last one on. So I'm exiting this Delica right here. I'm going to sew just through this Delica and then the Delica on the diagonal, like that. And I'm going to pull to lock them in place. All right, so just get that done and then come on back and we'll continue. Back. So now we're going to put the pearls on. So we're going to use the threads that we have. And we're just going to place 2 pearls at either side of each unit before we sew them together. And it just works out great that way. It makes this sort of nice little hinge sort of connection. All right, so normally if I have a little mishap, I just go back and I fix it, but I want to share with you what happened. So I was working here. Remember we put all our stitch in the ditch on, and then I think we were coming out of like this bead, one of these Delicas right here, and my thread broke, and I looked at it and there was a weak spot. And I mean, that happens. It happens more often than I want to say, especially with the black satin, but because it doesn't have that black coating on it, as I guess as thick as the regular. But I'm willing to work with that because I don't like when the color comes off of my hands, and no matter what I've tried, it always comes off on my hands. So I love the black satin, but occasionally, and like with any Fireline, I guess any thread, you might get a weak spot. So what I did, so my thread broke off, and so what I did is I took the end of the thread and I sewed it in, and through the Delicas, and I reversed direction. It broke around here, so I had enough to sew the thread in, and I'm just going to add a new thread. So I have about a foot of thread, a stop bead, a little tail to sew in, and I'm just going through, around the same bead that I was coming out with my original thread that broke. I'm just going to hold it like this just to get my beads on. So we're going to put these pearls on. So you just want to place them where you think, like in between the stitch and the ditch beads, to where it looks approximately even. So that's looking pretty good to me. If for some reason yours ends up like going up here or something, you can kind of play with this bezel a little bit. And just like if you hold it like this, and then you just kind of just give it a little, massage the beads a little bit, you will move them a little bit. But I think you're going to be able to find 2 spaces where those 2 pearls will go, where it is nice and even, approximately even and looks really pretty. I mean, I haven't had any problem with that, but just in case. All right, so here I've added my new thread. So I'm just going to put that in the back as though I don't have a new thread on. And I'm exiting, let's say, this Delica. If you're exiting because your thread didn't break, I mean, all I'm going to do is sew through the Delicas till I get to these 3 beads. I want to put the pearls in between these until I get to this bead, so I can sew up through this one and put my pearls on. So all you're going to do is just sew on the diagonal. So sewing through the Delicas on the diagonal till I get to the bead I want to go through. So here I am at the white Delica. I'm just going to reverse direction and go through this stitch in the ditch bead, this 11-0. Make sure you don't get it caught. Like that. And that's where I'm going to put my pearls on. So I'm going to pick up a pearl. I'm going to sew through this one. I'm going to pick up a pearl. I'm going to sew through this one. And now I have my 2 pearls on the side. But before I continue with, so you know what I'll do is I'll sew in the other end of that thread. You know, I'll snake around the Delicas. But what I want to do at this point, so I'm exiting this stitch in the ditch bead. I want to go first direction, and I want to go down through this one again. So I want to lock this into place, right? I'm going to go through this one. I'm going to go through this one. So I'm just going on the diagonal, going back to where my beads are on, going through this one. Okay, one more. So I'm going back down the same beads I went down before, and then back up through the 11-0, through the pearl, the 11-0 in between the pearl and the pearl. Okay, now I'm locked in place and I'm ready for my connection to my next piece. So you see how the way I'm putting my threads on, or I have the threads on, is so that you have the thread to connect everybody. This one is just because I added the thread. So what you're going to do for the other side, because you want to put them on the other side too, is you're going to take your back thread and you're going to do the same thing. All I did was snake around the beads until I came out of the bead I wanted to put where I wanted to put my pearls, here and here. So same exact thing. And then I'm just going to put these 2 pearls on this side, and then I'll sew in my threads, and well, I won't sew in my threads. I'm just going to leave my threads because we want to use those as connections. All right, so get that done and then come on back and we'll continue. Okay, we're back. So this is what your unit is going to look like. And you're going to keep making these units until you have enough for your bracelet minus your clasp. So you're going to do the whole unit, the bezel, and then you're going to add the pearls, and you'll end up coming out of the top or bottom, doesn't matter, of your side embellishment pearls. All right, so this bracelet, well, let's look at the blue one first. Complete is 6.5 inches. The actual beading part is 5.5. This one I'm making 1 unit longer, so this will be 6.5, and then the clasp. So you can adjust as far as length by the clasp. I mean, you'll have a certain amount of these that fit. You can't put a half on, so you're going to do any adjustment at the end with your clasp, which is very easy to do. So altogether, 6.5 bracelet, 5.5 beading, and this is going to be a 7.5 inch bracelet with 6.5 inches of beading. All right, so make your units, and then what we're going to do after that is we're going to use a pearl in the center and sew them together like that, and that's going to give us that nice little cool little hinge attachment. All right, so have fun making your bezels, and then come on back and we'll continue. Okay, we're back. So I have all my pieces done, and I've already sewn most of mine together, but I'll show you, this connection is the same on everything. So you're going to have 2 pieces that look exactly like this. So, and you'll have most likely a thread coming out of the top of one and the bottom of the other. You're going to use those threads. Any extra threads that we have, you'll sew in. So we're going to line them up like so. Let me pull in a teeny bit. It's a very easy connection. So here I have my needle threaded from one end of my, a thread that I had coming out of this one. So let me grab a pearl and some 11-0s. There. And then I want my 11-0 seed beads. What did I do with my 11-0 seed beads? Oh, here they are. I was cleaning up a little prematurely. Okay. So I'm going to pick up, I'm going to try to do it on the mat. I'm going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead, and I just have an extra thread there that I'll sew in after. So pick up an 11-0. I'm going to sew through the bottom hole. So I'm exiting this pearl. I'm going to sew through this pearl, just the pearl on the other unit, like that. Okay. Then I'm going to pick up my pearl, my 3mm pearl, and I'm going to sew through the pearl on this, the other unit. So the next pearl on the other unit. There we go. Like that. I'm going to pick up an 11-0. I'm going to go back down through the pearl on this unit. Like that. So here, see where we're connected, but now we have to connect the pearls, this pearl to this pearl. So I'm exiting this pearl. I'm just going to sew through that middle one, like that. And I'm going to pull, and then I'm going to sew through the pearl over here, and I'm going to push it down with my thumb, and that's how we're going to connect. Now you want to make sure that you're going to go around again. So I'm going to sew through this one. I'm going to sew through this one. I'm going to go through the middle one. Notice how I'm kind of like switching sides. Then I'm going to go through this one, like that. And see how that pulls it in? So I'm making sure each side is connected. Come through this one. And then you can just go down just the pearl, the 11-0, right there. And the pearl, like that. And then give that a pull, and you're all connected. Am I connected right? Yeah. So the way you want to sew this thread in is you're exiting the bottom of the pearl, this pearl here, you're going to sew through this stitch in the ditch, so that's the next one. And now I want you to sew through the Delicas. So sew through the Delicas. You can even, at this point, you can just reverse direction through that Delica, through this one, and then sew around a little bit, and then reverse direction again to lock it into place, and there you go. You have your connection done. All right, so you're going to do this for every unit. Very simple. Just make sure you weave through both sides so that it holds together really nicely and it's nice and secure. So you'll end up with what looks like, always pull out, this at either end. This is how you'll be right here. So get that done, come on back, and we'll put on the clasp. Okay, let's get the clasp on. So I already put one end on. So this is a 2-strand filigree box clasp. I'll link it below where I purchased it. And see how the rings here are facing? That's the way I want my thread to go through, like that. If you have a clasp and that's not happening, you can get locking jump rings that are about 3mm, 4mm, and you can add them to any clasp to make the rings in the direction you want to sew. So I'll link those down below. They're from Beadsmith, and they really work. You kind of mess up a few, trying to get them to lock, but once you get it, it's really not hard to do, and I really like them. So it gives you an opportunity, to use any clasp you like. So I'm going to pick up an 11-0. I'm going to sew through the first ring on my clasp, like that. I'm going to pick up an 11-0, a 3mm pearl, and an 11-0. I'm going to sew through the other ring on my clasp. Like that. I mean, you can use any clasp here. A pretty beaded clasp would be nice. A toggle and a beaded loop, and I have a video for that. I'll link that down below as well. Anything you like. Then I'm picking up an 11-0. I'm going to sew through these beads again. So the pearl, the 3mm, the 11/0 and the next pearl, and one at a time if you can't get them all together. Pulling like that through the pearl, like that. And then I'm going to reinforce. So just go through the 11/0, the ring, the 11/0, the pearl, the 11/0, the ring, back through this guy. You got it. You can pop through everybody again. Near you. I'll get it. There we go. And then, so you've reinforced a couple of times, go through this guy. So this is the 11/0 on the bezel, like that. And then at this point, I just want you to sew through the Delicas just like we've been doing. So sew through the Delicas and then reverse direction and lock it in place, and you're done. So here we go. Let's take a look at our bracelets. So here are both of them. I love this white opal one. Isn't that gorgeous? So pretty. Let me see if I can just lay them around my wrist so you can see what it looks like. And I am thinking of doubling it, or, you know, just enlarging it, maybe making it a cuff. But that'll be down the road. But right now, oh, it feels so nice on the wrist, too. Here you go. Here's your bracelet. Here's your Aurora bracelet. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. Look for lots more fun videos coming up, and we'll expand on this. Maybe we'll even, I mean, the necklace that we have with this is the Juliet necklace. That would go beautifully with this. But maybe we'll expand and, you know, maybe do another necklace. Who knows? All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.